Very good afternoon to all of you. This is Amit Kumar Goyal. I am assistant professor in the Department of Commerce and Business Management, Integral University, Lucknow. I welcome you all on the behalf of the Department of Commerce and Management, Integral University. Today we are going to conclude a 3 weeks, 3 months value addition course on GST, especially for designed for the BCom, BBA, and MCom students of my department. With To start this program, we have a very eminent speaker along with the department's faculty, departmental head and faculty dean. So before starting this, I would like to invite Professor A.K. Saxena, Dean, Commerce and Management, Integral University, to give the welcome address.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, all. I most heartily welcome Mr. Rishabh Mishra, leading chartered accountant and an authority in GST. I welcome you on behalf of the Chancellor of the University, Professor S.W. Akhtar, Pro-Chancellor Dr. Syed Nadeem Akhtar, our Vice Chancellor Professor Javed Masarrat, our Pro-Vice Chancellor Professor Akil Ahmed. On my behalf, on behalf of my faculty, it is indeed so kind of you to have agreed to give your talk on the most specialized topic of the day, that is GST. Well, if you look into it, since time immemorial, taxation has been the greatest source of revenue generation world over. India is no exception to this in different countries. Even in different dynasties, taxation has been the great source for the treasury to deposit, swell up the revenues, and that is to be used ultimately for the growth and development of the different sectors of the society. But as you know, that the human being has a nature. uh, I mean, before coming to that, as you already know, there are mainly two types of the taxes: the direct tax and the indirect tax. And the direct taxes and the indirect taxes are the right and left hands of the any government. Because if we honestly pay the tax and do not evade it, it helps in the building up of the economy of any country. So therefore, but as I told you, that there is a tendency of the human being in any government, in any time, in any society, to go for start evading and escaping the tax. They feel happy, thereby applying lot of means, lot of tricks, how tricks of the trade, how to go for escaping the taxation system and the tax. See, different government have got different taxation style and the system, and that's why taxation is law is the only law. Taxation is the only which changes every year with the start of in every financial year, in order to make the taxation system more dynamic, flexible, and in turn taming and chaining the different categories of taxpayers. Government applies different riders how to tame and chain the evaders, taxpayers, because it is a crime. Like there's a law of the land. Similarly, if you play smart, government will also come play smart, and ultimately you are caught. So it in fact contributes to the different heads of the human needs and the society. Through taxes, everything is possible: building of the roads, to bridges, to the labs, to the hospitals, to the schools and the colleges and the institution, and anything possible. In the similar sequence, the present BJP government of India, led by our respected Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, he came out with a new mechanism, new nomenclature, and very innovative taxation system, that is one country, one tax, the goods and services tax, to minimize and altogether removing the cascading of the taxation. This system has been a great success in terms of its implementation, in terms of revenue generation, in terms of cutting down the bad habits of the tax evasion and say general not believing in the tax system, and therefore it has been very much successful, as every month they have to fulfill, they have to file the tax. Here we are all eager. With this opening remark, we are eager to listen to Mr. Rishabh Mishra. And with this opening remark, I request Mr. Amit, to kindly request Mr. Rishabh Mishra for his enlightening talk on the various aspects and modalities of the GST system. Thank you very much. Over to Dr. Amit.
Thank you, Professor Saxena, for giving the insight about the GST and how it came into an existence. So, before we are going to listen, Chartered Accountant Rishabh Mishra, I would like to introduce Mr. Rishabh Mishra in front of you. Rishabh Mishra is basically a leading chartered accountant, not only in from Lucknow but from the North India. He had done his BCom, then cost accountancy, LLB, and then chartered accountancy course. He also run his consultancy firm in the name of Messrs. M. Rishabh and Associate. This is a chartered accountancy firm in Lucknow. He is engaged in indirect taxation practices since 2011 by providing the various services across the India. He is responsibly provided the tax advices, consultancy, due diligence, handling of various departmental matters and litigations. Apart from that, he is also invited as a guest and expert in by the central government as well as state government for the GST. May I request Rishabh sir to kindly give their presentation in front of our fellow colleagues, faculty members, students, and some international participants.
Thank you so much, Amit ji, for your kind introduction. Thank you, Dean Saab, Professor A.K. Saxena Saab, for his opening remarks. And my gratitude to Mr. Shahid, the head of the Department of the Faculty of Commerce and Management, the students, my dear students who have joined, the respected faculty members, and definitely the international participants, which Amit ji just told that who have also willing to join on this very interesting topic and most talked about topic, I can say, in today's scenario. I will try to share my experiences also along with the topic which is given to me, how the GST has transformed, how it was introduced, how it has transformed the economy, how it is being implemented at the ground level, whatever experiences I have been seeing over the years, I'll try to share. And most importantly, from the student's point of view, I can also discuss the career opportunities which it has opened up. So, towards the end, I'll also share with you the opportunities and what the students can look for in this ever evolving area of GST. So, starting with, I would like to first mention, as the Dean sir has also mentioned in his opening remarks, that we have two types of taxes in the Indian system. One is the direct tax and one is the indirect tax. I would request any of the students who have joined here who can just brief on what is the distinction between the two. I'll take my session forward accordingly. Any student who is willing to just tell me the marked difference between what is a direct tax and what is the indirect tax, because whatever we will be discussing further is depending on this. Anyone who has ever heard, who has ever listened to, read somewhere?
Sana, Zoya, anybody can answer the question?
Sharik might like to tell. Sharik might like to tell. Sharik, Nadeem. Sharik, Nadeem, if you are listening, are you there?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
You may like to tell about the different type of taxes which Mr. Rishabh Mishra is trying to say.
Yes, sir.
What are the two?
Definitely.
Please speak.
First and
Please speak. Please,
first,
please speak.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Most, I would like to welcome CA Rishabh Mishra sir to
Thank you, sir.
spare his valuable time for us. So,
Thank you.
basically, I am the faculty in the Department of Commerce and Business Management. So, as far as well, basically, in case
basically, I was discussing of. Yes. Please, please.
Basically, in case of direct tax system, the burden and the incidence and burden of tax falls on the one person. And the one upon whom the incidence falls, he has to bear the burden of tax. Whereas in case of indirect tax system, the incidence falls upon one person, but the burden can be shifted to another person, and ultimately that burden has to be borne by the consumer. Am I right, sir?
Absolutely true, शारिक साहब. थैंक यू सो मच. इसको मैं थोड़ा सा सरल कर देता हूँ. इंसिडेंस का मतलब क्या होता है, एंड वील टॉकिंग इन द वेरी मोस्ट अंडरस्टैंडेबल मैनर. डायरेक्ट टैक्स इज अ टैक्स विच इज फॉलिंग ऑन अ पर्सन हु इज लाइबल टू पे. इसका मतलब क्या हुआ, डायरेक्ट टैक्स में मेरी कोई टैक्स लाइबिलिटी है. से आई एम टेकिंग वन एग्जांपल ऑफ इनकम टैक्स. इनकम टैक्स, जो इनकम अर्न करेगा वो उस इनकम के ऊपर टैक्स देगा. सो इट बिकम्स योर डायरेक्ट टैक्स. पहले, अब तो अबॉलिश हो गया है, बट इनिशियली इन 2000 टिल 2008-9 देयर वाज वेल्थ टैक्स. इफ द नेट वेल्थ एक्सीडेड 1 करोड़ रुपीज, द जिसकी नेट वेल्थ 1 करोड़ से ऊपर थी, वो उस नेट वेल्थ का 1% वेल्थ टैक्स भी देना पड़ता था. तो बेसिकली अ पर्सन हु इज अर्निंग एनी इनकम, who is having a particular wealth, is obligated to pay the tax to the government on the income so earned, क्योंकि वो उसका इंसिडेंस डायरेक्टली फॉल कर रहा है उस पर्सन पे जिसके पास वो इनकम आ रही है. इट इज कॉल्ड अ डायरेक्ट टैक्स. नाउ व्हाट इज अ इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स? सिंपली इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स इज समथिंग जिसका इंसिडेंस किसी और पे आता है और कलेक्ट किसी और से किया जाता है. That is why it is called a indirect tax. Incidence का मतलब उसको, उसका बर्डन, उसका भार कौन बियर करता है? इनडायरेक्ट टैक्सेस का भार हमेशा कंज्यूमर, जो अल्टीमेट कंज्यूमर है. से आई हैव गॉन टू द मार्केट टू परचेज 10 kgs ऑफ व्हीट और फ्लोर, यू कैन से. तो उस फ्लोर पे जो भी टैक्स होगा, बिकॉज आई एम कंज्यूमिंग दैट फ्लोर, और मैं उस वीट से कुछ आटा बनाऊंगा और अनपैकेज्ड आटा लेने जाते हैं हम लोग. तो वो आटा क्योंकि हम कंज्यूम करेंगे, तो उस आटे के ऊपर जो भी X% ऑफ टैक्स है वो मैं बियर करूंगा. दैट इज वाई GST को कहा गया इट इज अ कंजम्पशन बेस्ड टैक्स. तो पर्सन इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स का भी वो फीचर होता है, और GST का भी वही फीचर निकल के आया कि GST is a tax on consumption. Tax on a consumption means that government will get the taxes जहाँ पे वो प्रोडक्ट कंज्यूम हो रहा है. दूसरी बात, इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स का एक यूनिक फीचर है कि इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स गुड्स या सर्विसेज पे लगता है. इनकम टैक्स या डायरेक्ट टैक्स इनकम पे लगता है. तो जो भी हमारा गुड्स या सर्विसेज, एनी कमोडिटी जिस पे टैक्स लगे, एनी सर्विसेज जिस पे टैक्स लगे, वो सर्विस का जो अल्टीमेट कंज्यूमर है उसके ऊपर उस टैक्स का बर्डन आता है, भार आता है. जाता वो टैक्स सरकार के ही पास है, बट बियर कौन करता है? बियर अल्टीमेट कंज्यूमर करता है. वी टेक वन एग्जांपल फॉर बेटर क्लैरिटी. मान लीजिए मेरे पास ये मोबाइल फोन है, राइट? आई एम अ मैन्युफैक्चरर ऑफ मोबाइल फोन्स. When I am a manufacturer of mobile phones, I purchase a raw material for this. मेरे को इसके लिए चिप्स चाहिए, मेरे को इसके लिए स्क्रीन्स चाहिए, मेरे को इसके लिए रिक्वायर्ड मेमोरी डेटाबेस चाहिए, मेरे को कुछ इसमें साउंड सिस्टम्स होता है वो भी चाहिए. सो आई एम अ मैन्युफैक्चरर, आई असेंबल एंड मेक अ प्रोडक्ट कॉल्ड एज अ मोबाइल फ़ोन. वो मोबाइल फ़ोन के ऊपर मैंने कुछ, जब मैंने ये सारा रॉ मटेरियल खरीदा तो उसके ऊपर कुछ टैक्सेस पे किए, क्योंकि ये गुड्स पे जो टैक्सेस लगता है दैट इज अ इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स विच वी कॉल एज अ गुड्स एंड सर्विस टैक्स, वो हमने पे करके इसके रॉ मटेरियल्स को परचेज किया। इस मोबाइल फ़ोन को फिनिश करके, मैन्युफैक्चर करके, इसको फिनिश प्रोडक्ट के फॉर्म में किसी मिस्टर ए को मैंने सेल कर दिया। तो जो मिस्टर ए है, इसमें मैंने कुछ इनपुट्स लगाए, कुछ लेबर लगाई, और कुछ अपना प्रॉफिट भी मैं कमाऊंगा, बिकॉज आई एम हेयर टू डू द बिजनेस। तो जब मैंने ये तीन चीज़ें लगाई, कुछ प्रोडक्ट्स लगाए, कुछ पार्ट्स लगाए, इसको बनाने में कुछ लेबर लगी, कुछ ओवरहेड्स लगे, और मेरा कुछ प्रॉफिट भी मैं कमाऊंगा इसके, तो उस प्रॉफिट को कमा के मैंने जिस भी प्राइस पे मिस्टर ए को इसको बेचा, उसके ऊपर मैं टैक्स लगाता हूँ, विच इज़ कॉल्ड अ इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स, जिसको आज की डेट में हम लोग जीएसटी कहते हैं। और वो जीएसटी अल्टीमेटली जो मिस्टर ए है उनकी पॉकेट से मैं, आई विल बी द सेलर ऑफ गुड्स, so I will collect that GST, say this is of 10,000 rupees, 18% GST, so I will collect 1,800 rupees from the ultimate consumer who is Mr. A, and I'll remit that 1,800 rupees to the government account, right? So what is an indirect tax? I am only a person who is collecting it from a third person and remitting it to the government account. So the incidence or the burden of the tax has not fallen on me as a manufacturer and as a seller of this mobile phone. The incidence of this tax I have passed on to Mr. A, and he has borne the burden of the tax. उसको कहते हैं इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स, जो कलेक्ट एक पर्सन करता है, पर वो जो कलेक्ट करता है उसके ऊपर उसका बर्डन नहीं जाता, ही ट्रांसफर्स द बर्डन। कीपिंग दिस एग्जाम्पल इन माइंड, हम लोगों के जो टैक्सेशन सिस्टम या इकोनॉमिक सिस्टम में पहले एक जो इनडायरेक्ट टैक्सेस थे, जो कलेक्ट एक आदमी करता था, उसका इंसिडेंस दूसरे के ऊपर जाता था, वो मल्टीपल इनडायरेक्ट टैक्सेस थे। वी टेक सर्टेन एग्जाम्पल्स, कुछ सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट लगाती थी, कुछ स्टेट गवर्नमेंट लगाती थी। सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट क्या लगाती थी? सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट सेंट्रल एक्साइज ड्यूटी लगाती थी, सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट सर्विस टैक्स लगाती थी, और सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट लगाती थी और लगाती है विच इज़ अ ड्यूटी ऑन इम्पोर्ट एंड एक्सपोर्ट्स, जिसको हम कस्टम ड्यूटी कहते हैं। तो सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स के फॉर्म में 3 प्राइमरी टैक्सेस जो कलेक्ट करती थी बिफोर जीएसटी। इसी तरीके से स्टेट गवर्नमेंट को भी शेड्यूल 7 ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में कहा गया कि हम आपकी एक स्टेट लिस्ट बना दे रहे हैं, जिसके ऊपर जितने भी हम टैक्सेस मेंशन कर रहे हैं कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल भी, आई थिंक वी ऑल आर अवेयर ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अरेंजमेंट। कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के अंडर लॉ डिफाइंड है, कौन सी स्टेट गवर्नमेंट या सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट कौन से लॉज इनैक्ट कर सकती है। वो रिस्पेक्टिव गवर्नमेंट्स वो लॉज इनैक्ट करती है, उसको लागू करती है, और उसके बाद डिपार्टमेंट्स होता है विच इज द जीएसटी डिपार्टमेंट विच एडमिनिस्टर्स द लॉ, राइट? सो दिस इज द हायरार्किकल स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ द टैक्स लॉज ऑल्सो, कि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में एक चीज़ दी गई, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में दिया गया कि कौन से प्रोडक्ट के ऊपर, कौन से सर्विस के ऊपर कौन सी गवर्नमेंट टैक्सेस लगा सकते हैं। पहली चीज़, उसी हिसाब से पार्लियामेंट एक्ट को पास करती है, पार्लियामेंट एक्ट को इनैक्ट करती है, या स्टेट लेजिस्लेचर एक्ट को इनैक्ट करती है इंडिया के फेडरल सिस्टम में। और उसके बाद वो एक्ट को इनैक्ट करने के बाद they have formulated a department called the GST department. GST department has a central wing and the state wing, जिसको आप सेंट्रल जीएसटी डिपार्टमेंट कहते हैं और स्टेट जीएसटी डिपार्टमेंट कहते हैं। उसका फंक्शन शुरू हो जाता है टू एडमिनिस्टर द प्रोविजंस ऑफ द एक्ट सो इनेक्टेड, राइट? तो दिस इज द हायरार्किकल स्ट्रक्चर। इस हायरार्किकल स्ट्रक्चर में प्री जीएसटी सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट कुछ इनडायरेक्ट टैक्सेस लगा रही थी, और प्री जीएसटी स्टेट लिस्ट में मेंशन था, स्टेट लिस्ट में मेंशन था आपकी सेंट्रल एक्साइज ड्यूटी ऑन लिकर्स, जो लिकर पे एक्साइज ड्यूटी लगाने का राइट, वैट को लगाने का राइट, एंटरटेनमेंट टैक्स आपने हो सकता है कहीं आप अम्यूजमेंट पार्क जाते हो तो उसकी टिकट में आपने पहले देखा होगा कि एंटरटेनमेंट टैक्स रखा है, या आप सिनेमा हाउसेस जाते होंगे तो आप उसकी जो टिकट परचेज करते हैं उसमें एंटरटेनमेंट टैक्स लगा रहता है। गैम्बलिंग एंड बेटिंग के ऊपर टैक्सेस जो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट, नॉट इन यूपी, इट इज देयर इन महाराष्ट्र। तो इस तरीके से डिफाइन थे कि सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट कौन से लॉ को बनाएगी और कौन से इनडायरेक्ट टैक्सेस को कलेक्ट करेगी। दूसरी तरफ स्टेट लिस्ट में मेंशन थे कि कौन से टैक्सेस स्टेट गवर्नमेंट स्टेट लेजिस्लेचर में इनेक्ट करेगी और उसको इन्फोर्स करेगी। ये दोनों चीज़ों को या दोनों स्ट्रक्चर को क्योंकि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनली डिफाइन थे, शेड्यूल 7 में डिफाइन थे, तो सबसे पहले रिक्वायरमेंट हुई कि हम कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अमेंडमेंट लाएं, क्योंकि अभी तक जो सारी चीज़ें अलग अलग हैं, जीएसटी को लाना है तो जीएसटी पैरेलली सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट स्टेट गवर्नमेंट दोनों लगा सकती है। उसके लिए ज़रूरी था कि गवर्नमेंट कुछ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल बदलाव करे, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल चेंजेस करे। तो उन्होंने कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल का 101 अमेंडमेंट एक्ट 2016 में पारित किया राज्यसभा से। उस एक्ट के तहत कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट चेंजेस किए। सबसे पहले टैक्सेशन सिस्टम के स्ट्रक्चर को चेंज किया गया कि पहले डिफाइन था कि कौन से टैक्सेस सेंट्रल को लगाने हैं, कौन से टैक्सेस स्टेट को लगाने हैं। अब उन्होंने कहा कि हम ये जो अलग अलग डिफाइन किया गया है इसको हम सब्ज्यूम करते हैं, इसको हम मर्ज करते हैं और मर्ज करके एक यूनिफाइड टैक्स सिस्टम लेके आते हैं जिसको हम जीएसटी के नाम से लाएंगे। और जीएसटी के नाम से जीएसटी लॉ सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट भी इनेक्ट कर सकती है, स्टेट गवर्नमेंट भी इनेक्ट कर सकती है, और किसके ऊपर लागू होना है ये हम आपको एक्ट के अंदर बता देंगे कि कौन कौन से गुड्स या कौन कौन से सर्विसेज पे इसको लागू होना है। और इसको इस तरीके से लागू किया जाएगा कि अभी तक के ये जो डिस्टिंक्शन था इसमें हम पुराने टैक्सेस को खत्म कर देते हैं और एक यूनिफाइड टैक्स स्ट्रक्चर लेके आते हैं। जब वो यूनिफाइड टैक्स स्ट्रक्चर आएगा तो आपके बिजनेसेस के लिए कंप्लाइंस बर्डन कम होगा कि वो एक बार हर टैक्स स्ट्रक्चर का एक टैक्स एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन भी होता है, तो वो टैक्स एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन के पास मल्टीपल रिटर्न्स फाइल करने होते हैं, उनके असेसमेंट्स कराने होते हैं। तो नॉर्मली जो लोग हैं, जो टैक्स पेयर्स हैं, उनके ऊपर एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव एंड कंप्लाइंस बर्डन कम होगा, कंप्लाइंस कॉस्ट कम होगी और ईजियर सिस्टम्स फ्रेम आउट होंगे। इस इंटेंशन से उन्होंने पुराने टैक्सेस को कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में चेंज करके पुरानी एंट्रीज को कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन से डिलीट किया, आर्टिकल 246A कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में डाला और आर्टिकल 246A में कहा कि हम सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट और स्टेट गवर्नमेंट को पैरेलल पावर्स दे रहे हैं इस एक्ट को लागू करने की और पारित करने की। और उसके बाद उस सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट का जो सेंट्रल जीएसटी डिपार्टमेंट है और स्टेट गवर्नमेंट का जो पहले वैट डिपार्टमेंट होता था, जिसको अब स्टेट जीएसटी डिपार्टमेंट कहते हैं, उसको हम कह देंगे कि आप इस एक्ट के प्रोविजंस को आप एडमिनिस्टर करिए। तो दिस इज द स्ट्रक्चर। इट वाज अ प्री जीएसटी स्ट्रक्चर। इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स का मतलब क्या था और उसके बाद किस तरीके से जीएसटी के थॉट को हमारे पास लाया गया। जब ये कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल चेंजेस किए गए, स्टैच्यूटरी चेंजेस किए गए, तो इसका डेफिनेटली हमारी इकोनॉमी पे भी कुछ ना कुछ इम्पैक्ट पड़ना था। बिकॉज आपको मालूम होगा कि टैक्स कलेक्शन इज वन ऑफ द मेन सोर्सेज ऑफ रेवेन्यू फॉर द सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट एज वेल एज फॉर द स्टेट गवर्नमेंट्स। तो फॉर द सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट अपने खर्चे कहाँ से मीट करती है? वो अपने खर्चे मीट करती है, प्राइमरी सोर्स टैक्स रेवेन्यू होता है। जब हम टैक्स रेवेन्यू की बात करते हैं तो उसमें डायरेक्ट टैक्स भी आता है, इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स भी आता है। ऑब्वियसली इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स क्योंकि उसके बेस बड़ा है, मतलब टैक्स पेयर बेस इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स का डायरेक्ट टैक्स पेयर से काफ़ी बड़ा है, तो उसका रेवेन्यू कलेक्शन भी ज़्यादा होता है। तो एक डायरेक्ट इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स है। दूसरा, अगर गवर्नमेंट को फर्दर कुछ अपने एक्सपेंडिचर्स को करने के लिए और फर्दर कहीं चाहिए तो वो डिफरेंट तरीके की सरचार्ज और सेस लगा सकते हैं। आप लोगों ने सुना होगा व्हाट इज अ सरचार्ज, व्हाट इज अ टैक्स, व्हाट इज अ ड्यूटी एंड व्हाट इज अ सेस। तो वो सरचार्ज और सेसेस लगा सकते हैं। उसके बाद भी गवर्नमेंट के एक्सपेंडिचर के लिए अगर उसके पास पर्याप्त पैसे नहीं रहते तो वो बोरोइंग्स कर सकते हैं इंडियन बैंक से, रिजर्व बैंक से, और इवन फॉरेन बैंक से भी गवर्नमेंट्स बोरो करती हैं, फ्रॉम द आईएमएफ एंड फ्रॉम द वर्ल्ड बैंक। तो इस तरीके से, और इसी के
ऋषभ जी, प्लीज इंग्लिश में करिए बिकॉज एम्बेसडर हैज आल्सो ज्वाइंड द सेशन।
ओके ओके। So keeping this in view, when there is a this structure gives rise to, आपने economics में you might have noted in the economics that what is a fiscal deficit. So this leads to the fiscal deficit, the government's budgeted revenue versus the government's budgeted expenditure. And GST is one of the important components of the government's budgeted revenue. And why it is so? Because when in 2017 we migrated from the earlier tax regime to the GST regime, we had only around 40 lakh taxpayers. And as on today, approximately there are 1.25 crore taxpayers under GST. So it has increased the taxpayer base by almost 3 times, we can say. So accordingly, जहाँ पे whenever we talk of the GST का taxpayer base बनेगा, so the revenue collections will increase, the government expenditure can increase. So the government spending is directly related to the demand of the goods, the demand of the services, and definitely it has a side repercussions also. When there is a government spending also affects the inflation of the country. So seeing from the economic angle, we can say that the tax structure is the foundation, is the base for all the government expenditure, all the government spending, and it is one of the major source of funding for the government. Right. Moving on, what in Indian GST system has, how the Indian GST system has impacted the trade and has impacted the industry, and what are the, going forward, what are the challenges? So any tax regime has twofold aspects. One, how the act is formulated or how the law is drafted, and secondly, how the law is implemented. So we have to see both the aspects of any tax law. So whether the tax law promotes ease of doing business, whether the tax law has reduced the cascading effect or multiple taxes regime which was there. So definitely we can say on the economic front, the GST has reduced the n number of taxes which were levied before the GST regime, and it has consolidated all the taxes into one rate structure or one tax structure. That is why you must have read also that GST is also called one nation, one tax, because many of the earlier indirect tax laws have subsumed themselves into the GST regime. Then, when we talk of the indirect tax, one of the chief component that has to be taken care of by the governments is that indirect tax should have seamless flow of input tax credit. I'm sure the members of the session might be aware of what is the input tax credit concept is. The input tax credit is the credit of the tax which we have paid earlier in our supply chains. So whatever tax, I'll take one example to explain this concept. Suppose we are a manufacturer of mobile phones, which I had taken it some time earlier. So I had purchased the screen guards, I have purchased the chips, I have purchased the sound systems to be inbuilt, I have purchased the storage spaces. So whatever these devices I have purchased from specific different vendors, I am having a factory which is assembling all these components into a mobile phone, and then we are selling the finished product or the mobile phone to our consumers. So whatever, see, it is a tax, the seamless flow of credit, how it works. The seamless flow of credit works like this. Whatever inputs, whatever raw material I've purchased to manufacture this mobile phone has come to me through a tax invoice. And that tax invoice, I have paid certain amount of GST to the vendors from whom I have purchased. That tax is available to me as a credit when I'm paying my tax when I'm selling these phones. This is called the seamless input tax credit chain. So where there is a raw material supplier, there is a manufacturer, and there is a ultimate consumer. There is a flow of input tax credit from the raw material supplier who is supplying me the raw materials to manufacture this mobile phone, because he is a supplier. Whenever he is selling something to me, he is supposed to charge some GST on this. He'll raise an invoice on me, he'll charge the taxes, and when whatever he has charged, I have to pay the taxes to him. He'll remit those taxes to the government, and when one leg of transaction the government has received its revenue, the government makes provision for the recipient to take the credit of the tax so paid when I am discharging my final taxes on my output tax liability or my sales. So suppose, taking one example, I purchased raw materials for 1 lakh rupees to manufacture this mobile phone. I've paid 18% GST. When I pay 18% GST, I'm presupposing the rate of 18% in this case. When I paid GST of 18%, means the invoice the vendor has sent to me is of 1,18,000. My vendor has filed its GST returns, has paid the taxes to the government to the extent of 18,000, and those taxes have been collected from me. I made the payment of the entire invoice of 1,18,000. Then what the GST system allows me to take the input tax credit of that 18,000 which I paid on my purchases. And suppose the finished product, I am selling it for 2 lakh rupees. I am charging 18% to the extent of 36,000 rupees. I'll collect 2,36,000 rupees from my supplier. I will take the credit of 18,000 which I have paid at the time of purchasing my raw materials, and I have remit the balance cash of 18,000, 36,000 minus the 18,000 ITC. I'll remit the cash to the extent of 18,000 from what I have collected from my ultimate consumer. So this is called the chain of input tax credit which is there in GST, and this should be seamless. In certain cases in the GST law, section 17 is there, which is restricting the seamless flow of credit, which has definitely become a challenge for the trade, for the industry as well. And we have seen many writ petitions filed on the clause of section 17 which is restricting or blocking the credit in some cases. So accordingly, our tax system has to be designed and defined in such a way that the credit flow is seamless. So why the credit flow is necessary? The credit flow is necessary because it reduces the cost of production of that goods. If the credit flow is restricted, it will definitely increase the manufacturing cost, and accordingly the pricing of the goods will rise, and ultimately the burden of those higher prices will be borne by the ultimate consumers. So it is the economic impact of the tax system, that any tax system has to permit a seamless flow of credit for the goods and the prices of the products to remain cheap, and correct pricing is determined. Or again, you can find out how the GST is also impacting your export supplies. When the input tax credit is not seamless, or you are not getting the entire input tax credit, the products you are manufacturing in India, the plants or the finished goods you are manufacturing in India, gets costlier than what is being manufactured in other countries. So when the cost will increase, the export prices will also increase. So therefore it will also affect the country's exports. So when the country's exports, the prices are not competitive, when the production line is having different inherent cost, it will also lead to a decrease in the exports of the country as well. Thereby, it will in effect affect the foreign reserves or the foreign currency reserves of the country. So this is the entire chain. It is an entire value chain, and it is an entire credit chain. In the same manner, you'll find that GST has also impacted when another major sector of the economy, which is the logistics and the warehousing sector. How it has impacted is the logistics earlier in the earlier regime. What companies used to do? The companies used to open various warehouses in different states of India. A company which is registered in Maharashtra opens a warehouse in Ahmedabad, it opens a warehouse in UP and Lucknow, it opens a warehouse in Delhi. It had to open multiple warehouses because the stock transfers from different state under the CST regime was not liable to central sales tax. The stock transfers were against Form F, you might be aware. And when the stock transfers were against Form F, there was no tax. Now in the GST regime, the companies have practically reduced their warehousing or storage, and they have collectively closed down their multiple warehouses, because now the tax structure is same. This has reduced their storage cost of goods and also the logistics and the transportation cost. So how this is a very important sector of our economy, the logistics and warehousing, because it has a direct impact on the prices of the goods and services which we are consuming in our daily lives. So the logistics sector, the warehousing sector has seen its role. Then the real estate industry. How the GST has impacted the real estate industry. You might be aware that when the GST rates were introduced for the construction services by the builders and developers, so the real estate sector had sent various representations to the government to reduce the rates. Because when once real estate sector, the infra sector, the works contract sector has far reaching implications in other sectors as well. So the government has rationalized, the GST council has met in its meeting, the government has rationalized the rates, and now they are up to down 13%. Earlier the real estate prices, the GST on real estate services was up to 18%. Now for residential properties it has come down to 5%. So the rationalization of rates in the real estate sector has also taken place, which has played a very important role in managing our economy. Then another very important aspect which it has reduced, which is the GST has impacted, is the FDI flows into our country. Foreign direct investments come to our country when there is a possibility of cheap production or lower cost of production, I can say. When the production cost is lower, the companies located in other countries will bring their investment in India. They'll set up a factory, they'll create products, manufacture products, and then they will export outside India. So the FDI inflows once the input tax mechanism is streamlined in the GST much better than the earlier tax regime. The FDI inflows into our country has increased. So the foreign direct investments are very important for our economic growth, for our exchange reserves, and for our balance of payments as well. Then another important aspect which is economically impacting the industries, specifically the SMEs, small and medium enterprises, is the refund of tax on exports. So whenever there is a refund of any input tax credit which the exporter avails, the process has been completely online now. Earlier, these processes used to take much more time than they are taking it today. Now the electronic filing of refund applications, the processing time has been defined in the law and the circulars which have been issued, and the people are comparatively getting easier and faster refunds of taxes, which it was not there in the earlier regime. So whenever the faster refunds will enable the businesses to get their working capital requirements fulfilled, and accordingly they can pool in the money back into their production line and generate more profits and returns on their investments. So again, the refund component is huge, and when the processes of refund gets streamlined, it gives a boost to the manufacturers or the SME segments to pool in their own resources rather than going to the banks and asking for funding or financing. So the refund processes have been very much streamlined. Keeping in the entire scenario, we can say that the GST regime has definitely made certain things easy for the business houses, the SMEs, and it has to some extent taken care of the ease of doing business concept of the government. But yes, I will say that the challenges are not yet over, because we have a lot of issues and we face a lot of issues when we see the implementation part. So the intention of the lawmakers is one thing, and the implementation of that intention is another thing. So whatever more is required to be done, the government is trying its best. The government is taking representations from the industry, from the trade, and from the ground level people who are involved in the implementation. So our institute is doing its best efforts to make the government aware of the issues which are there in the implementation part. But yes, the benefits we see will definitely come in the mid to long term, not in the short term. So any regime, it is a big shift, and it is a big shift for the Indian economy as well. The taxes flow in is quite good as compared to the earlier regimes. One important aspect which needs highlight here is that there are few petroleum products, the oil and gas industry, which is very crucial for all other industries are dependent on oil prices. I assume you might be very well aware. So the oil and gas industry is still not within the ambit of GST law. The GST Council, I'll talk briefly of the what is a GST Council also. The GST Council has proposed not to bring the oil, the crude oil, the petrol, the diesel, under the GST because it has a huge chunk of revenue for the state governments. And even today, the state governments are not ready to forego the tax collection they are receiving from the oil and the gas sector. That is a huge bottleneck. But yes, we are hopeful that may not be petrol or diesel, but the natural gas segment may soon see the light of GST, because the natural gas consumption is increasing in our country, and there are representations from gas companies to include the natural gas under the GST as well, because they are incurring huge cost by not able to take the input tax credit. When the product is exempt, you are not entitled to take the ITC of that also. So it increases the cost of production. Moving forward, what is GST Council? GST Council is a constitutional body. GST Council has been formulated under Article 279A of the Constitution. What does it do? GST Council is bound to hold the meetings. The chairperson is the Union Finance Minister, and definitely the members are the members of Minister of Finance for the states. So all these people meet often and they discuss the industry issues, the legal issues, the rates, the exemptions which they should give or withdraw in GST regime, the administrative part. So all these issues are being taken up by the GST Council in their meeting, and it is only on the recommendations of the GST Council that the law gets amended in the parliament and in the state legislature. So what is the proposal of the GST Council? The government takes the proposal of the GST Council into cognizance. When the GST Council recommends, the proposals are being discussed, the industry representation is being sought, and accordingly a final decision is being taken on the recommendations of the council, be it any changes in the GST law or the procedural changes or the clarificatory changes in the tax rates, in the exemptions. So the GST Council has a constitutional role. Whatever is being administered, whatever changes in law is required, the GST Council is the final authority. So I hope you are aware also of the structure. We have a GST Council, which is a constitutional authority at the top. Then it comes the Ministry of Finance. Then it comes the board, which we call the Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs. And then comes the GST department, the state and the central GST. So this is the administrative structure, how the hierarchy goes from top to bottom. Now, one very important aspect which I want to take is, what are the, because I have many friends who have joined which are students and which are looking forward for good career options, and how can GST be a career option for them? GST has brought new opportunities for many professionals, for students, and for people at large who are scattered into different other fields. This is a tax law and it requires a specialized knowledge. When you need a specialized knowledge, you need some studies, some academics, and the training part, a practical training part. What you can do by gaining that knowledge, you can work in the accounts department of various corporates, various SMEs, in the professional firms, in the consultancy firms, in the SME segment. So the employability gets increased, definitely, for the students. Nowadays, whatever companies are hiring, they want a person who has a good knowledge of GST, who has a good understanding and basic understanding of the law, how it is getting applied, and how the returns are filed, how the compliances are made, how the refund applications are being prepared, how to respond to the queries raised on different aspects by the GST department, how to get the assessments done. All these work can be undertaken by you as a student by enrolling as a GST practitioner. There is a specific provision in GST rules that students can enroll themselves as a GST practitioner with the GST department. And by virtue of being a GST practitioner, you can undertake various functions in the field of GST. You can file the returns, you can file the refund applications, you can be a tax return preparer, you can assist the management in computation of the correct taxes, you can assist the company management in filing of their returns and calculations of input tax credits. So n number of opportunities have come which people are coming and have come into, but there is lot more space for the younger generations to jump into this field and get enrolled yourself as a GST practitioner, definitely. So for this also you need to have a basic understanding of the Tally software, definitely, because the Tally software, most of the firms and companies are using the Tally software, and if you are having a good knowledge of the Tally, then that will definitely be a added career advantage for you. Now Mr. Amitji has also asked me to discuss the return process, the return filing process. Basically in GST, return filing is of two types. The GST law has classified taxpayers into two parts. One, which are small taxpayers, which have a turnover of less than 1.5 crores. And then there are taxpayers which are mid or large taxpayers, which are having their turnover above 1.5 crores. So there are two broad categories of taxpayers in GST. The people who are below the turnover of 1.5 crores can remain as a regular taxpayer, or they can opt for the composition taxpayer or on the composition scheme, जिसको हम लोग हिंदी में समाधान स्कीम भी कहते हैं, पहले भी था आज भी है. तो उसमें आपको एक नॉमिनल 2% टैक्सेस देके 1% टैक्सेस देके आप कंप्लायंस एक GSTR 4 रिटर्न आता है ऑन अ एनुअल बेसिस, यू कैन फाइल एंड यू हैव टू पे दैट कंपोजिशन टैक्स थ्रू फॉर्म CMP 08 ऑन अ क्वार्टरली बेसिस. तो उसमें कंपोजिशन डीलर्स की कुछ कंडीशंस हैं सेक्शन 10 में. अगर वो फुलफिल करती हैं और आपका टर्नओवर अप टू 1.5 करोड़ है, तो यू कैन ऑप्ट बीइंग अ कंपोजिशन टैक्स पेयर. कंपोजिशन टैक्स पेयर को क्या करना होता है, उसको इनपुट आउटपुट के लेजर्स रिकॉर्ड्स मेंटेन करने की जरूरत नहीं है. वट एवर इज टर्नओवर इज, उस पर फ्लैट 1% वो टैक्स दे दे गवर्नमेंट को, दैट इज इट. मिनिमम कंप्लायंस. तो दैट इज normally opted by smaller businesses. Regular businesses or businesses having turnover of more than 1.5 crores are obligated to file two monthly returns. One is GSTR 1 and then it is GSTR 3B. So what is GSTR 1? GSTR 1 is a return of outward supplies. What is a return of outward supply? In simple terms, we can say it is a returns of disclosing your sales or your turnover. How? When you have made a B2B, I hope you may be aware of this term, what is a B2B supply and what is a B2C supply. Whatever we are selling it to a consumer who is not registered, that is a B2C supply. And whatever we are selling from one business to another business house, it is a B2B supply. The recipient is registered in GST also. That is a B2B transaction. So simply what GSTR 1 is required for, कि मैंने एक महीने में जितने भी सेल के बिल काटे हैं, वो सारे सेल की इनवॉइसेस B2B हो सकती हैं या B2C हो सकती हैं। तो वो सारी इनवॉइसेस को हमें क्यूमुलेटिवली अपने मंथली रिटर्न्स में डिस्क्लोज करना होता है इनवॉइस नंबर वाइज। तो इनवॉइस नंबर वाइज हम उसको डिस्क्लोज करते हैं, देन वी गो ऑन टू फाइल GSTR1। सिमिलरली GSTR 3B रिटर्न है, जो 3B रिटर्न में हम टर्नओवर दिखाते हैं, चाहे वो B2B का हो, चाहे B2C का हो, चाहे एक्सपोर्ट टर्नओवर हो, और उसमें हम इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट क्लेम करते हैं, विच वी हैड डिस्कस्ड अर्लियर इन अवर डिस्कशन। व्हाट इज इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट? जितना भी टैक्स हमने अपने वेंडर्स को पे किया है और मेरे पास एक वैलिड टैक्स इनवॉइस है, तो वट एवर टैक्स वी हैव पेड 3B में उसका क्रेडिट हम क्लेम करेंगे। मैंने जितनी सेल्स की हैं उसको हम 3B में डिस्क्लोज करेंगे। We'll adjust the input tax with the output liability and pay the balance tax and file the return. So this is a function of GSTR 3B returns which businesses practically file. इसके बियॉन्ड अगर आप जाएं तो एनुअली बेसिस पे 2 करोड़ से ऊपर के टर्नओवर के टैक्स पेयर्स को जीएसटी में एनुअल रिटर्न्स भी फाइल करनी होती है। अगेन विच इज it is a very good career opportunity for students and students completing their studies, क्योंकि एनुअल रिटर्न्स प्रिपेयर करना दैट इज अ bit of a technical and a specialized job. And when you are well versed with the field, you can assist the business houses in getting their return workings done, their annual returns working done. And again, there is a reconciliation statement which also requires a specific knowledge of the subject. You can also opt to prepare, assist the business houses in preparing their reconciliation statement, which is technically called GSTR 9C. This is also a form, a reconciliation statement, which is being filed online by the taxpayers having turnover above 5 crores. So GSTR 9, which is the annual return, it is being filed by taxpayers above 2 crores turnover. And GSTR 9C, it also requires a preparation and all the backup workings. It is being filed by taxpayers having turnover above 5 crores. So these are the areas which you can explore, which you can have an experience on, which you can learn. You can study the act, study the rules, get a good and short training, and you can create your career or profession in the GST, which is a very sought after area as on today. And definitely it requires a lot of updations and hard work, that is undoubtedly. But yes, it has equal opportunities in all the states of the country. That is because the law does not, law of land is same as it is there in UP, it is there in Maharashtra, and it is there in Tamil Nadu. So there is no difference. You will learn something here and you can apply that thing all over India, anywhere. So that is the best part. Taxation area is technical. People are still fewer than required by the industry. So keeping this view and my thoughts on this, I would like to invite any one of you who want to pose any question on today's topic and any other thing which Amit ji allows me to do.
Thanks, Rishabh sir, for giving the valuable inputs and information about the GST. Now the forum is open for the questions. If anybody has any question, wants to ask any question from Mr. Rishabh, they are free to ask any question.
Is some question answer session going on?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Can I ask one question?
Sure, sir, sure.
It has been observed that due to GST, the small and medium business people, they are facing a lot of crisis and hardship in filing every month the return.
Right, sir. Right.
By the time they complete first month, the second month return is due.
Right, sir.
That is leading to corruption at the end of the people who are finalizing it.
Right.
Got my point? So, should the government develop or the chartered accountant should suggest some mechanism so that on the contrary, there is a recurring expenditure on the part of the medium business people to hire an advocate to file the GST. He
Right.
charges, they have to pay. Then the clerk charges to the bribe under the table, and I mean all these has a as I say consequential effect on each other in a sequence. Can chartered accountants develop some mechanism to ease out and make the process more simpler? That GST should be paid by the people of all types, all business people, small, lower, small, medium, large, heavy, big business people. But then there should not be such type of unethical practices should be stopped forthwith. Could it be made quarterly or half yearly? Like your comments, please.
Sir, the government has already introduced a system for the small taxpayers, which is called a QRMP scheme, Quarterly Return Monthly Payment Scheme. This is already in function today, and the point raised by you is very valid from the viewpoint of SME. And they were facing the issues. Our institute has also representative. I am in the indirect tax committee also of the institute. So we had sent recommendations to the government. The government has taken the action. And for the small taxpayers, because the large taxpayers, it is not possible for the government to defer it to quarterly or half yearly return filing, because it will also impact the revenue of the government.
True,
But for
true,
the
very
small,
true, very true.
but for the small taxpayers, the government has introduced the QRMP scheme since 1st January 2021.
Okay.
So the small taxpayers can avail the benefit of QRMP scheme. It is very easy. It is very simple, and only one quarterly return is required to be filed, and you can pay the taxes easily. And the government has given these relaxations.
Okay, in this entire modus operandi, there is enough transparency, that is being ensured.
Sir, transparency is very subjective, sir. But yes, the intent is definitely clear to reduce the burden. But we see a lot of challenges at the implementation level. Definitely.
Okay.
How the things are, many people do not tell their clients of any changes that are coming in. Yeah, what benefit the clients can take, and they keep on going to follow the earlier system, because that is option is also open to follow the
True.
earlier system or to adopt the new changes that are coming in. So the very important here, the role of a professional is there, that the professional guides their clients correctly in the system. They tell what are the changes that are coming and what is the benefit, how the client can benefit. So this is the responsibility on the professional side.
Okay, thank you very much, because it's a part of the social responsibility of business also.
Definitely,
Right.
sir. Definitely.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Rishabh ji, I have to ask one question from you.
Sir, sir.
As a person or a business owner has done something in a previous month and he has to file the return, GST return on 25th to 24th of the next month or the subsequent month. If somebody fails to file the return on a particular point of time, then what is the amount of penalty imposed on that particular business owner?
Right, sir. Sir, the late fees has been recently rationalized in May. The notifications were out, May 2021. If the person has nil returns, there is a maximum late fees of 20 rupees per day, and maximum capping is 1,000 rupees. And if it is not a late return, the maximum capping is 5,000 rupees. So the late fees has been rationalized. It is on a per day basis, basically. So if you have forgot to file the return on 24th, which is the due date in UP, and you have filed on 26th, so say, and you have certain transactions and there is not a nil return, you end up paying 100 rupees of late fees
Okay.
for 2 days,
Okay. Sir, one question I have.
along with the sir interest for 2 days.
Okay. Okay.
Interest. Yes.
Interest. It at the rate of what
At the
percent?
rate of sir 18% for 2 days, sir. It is a simple interest
Simple interest. Okay.
for
Okay.
2 days.
Okay, sir, I have received one question. What is the basic difference if a person is paying a monthly tax and if a person is refiling the return on quarterly basis?
Sir, basic difference is paying the monthly tax and paying the tax quarterly is, you can pay the tax quarterly only if you are opting for the QRMP scheme.
Okay.
Otherwise, there is no mechanism to pay the tax quarterly.
Okay.
Until unless you are not opting for the QRMP scheme, quarterly return monthly payment scheme, which is introduced by the government very recently this year. Otherwise, all other taxpayers are obligated to pay the taxes on a monthly basis by filing their 3B returns on monthly basis.
Okay.
Smaller taxpayers can avail the benefit of the scheme and pay the taxes on quarterly basis also.
Okay. 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 So, any more questions? The forum is still, we have a 5 minutes to ask any questions. Okay, so it is my proud privilege, and I feels elevated to inform to the forum that today one of our eminent guests from the Indonesia embassy, that she is an education counselor and counselor attaché, has also joined this session. I want Listiana madam to give his views and insight about this session.
Hello.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good
Good
afternoon.
afternoon. Good afternoon.
Yeah, thank you very much for Mr. Amit Goel, who already shared the information about this webinar, and already shared to Indonesian students. I already saw here about 5 Indonesian students join this with this webinar, and I noticed that they come from the Bachelor of Business Administration, then Master of Law, and another from Economy, and one PhD student in IIT Bombay. And when I shared they what is asked permission to me to join, even though I already what is mentioned to them, feel free to join, and I'm really happy when I saw Indonesian students join in this seminar. I want to give them some what is additional knowledge because this seminar will be valuable for them. To might be someday if any Indonesian asks about the GST, even though I never use my GST because I don't like what is buying something luxurious because will be this having problem for me when I return back to Indonesia. So that's why I just buy something simple thing from India, and it will be useful for Indonesian students. Might be they can use the reference of GST for their papers when they have such assignment. So they have what is reference also from the speaker here, and might be if any Indonesian would like to have in a further question, could have a contact from the speaker. And once again, thank you for Mr. Amit Goel to give me opportunity to share your information, especially dealing with the GST today. And hopefully there will be any further communication between Indonesian students to the speakers and my to Mr. Amit Goel itself. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Now, I would like to invite the head of department, Dr. Dr. Shahid Said Mazhar, to give the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Amit, for having me on the session. Respected Dean, Faculty of Commerce and Management, Professor A.K. Saxena, sir, Sir Rishabh Mishra, Chartered Accountant, Associate Lucknow, Dr. Amit Goel, moderator of the session, distinguished members, and my dear participants. At the outset, I would like to thank today's key speaker of the session, Mr. Rishabh Mishra, for not only providing the conceptual overture of the topic, which is goods and services tax and its impact on Indian economy, but also providing practical and useful information about this theme. It also dealt about all the nuances which GST is having in the mind of the student. So he has dealt all the points which were of paramount importance as far as GST is concerned. So I'd like to thank him on behalf of the department for taking this session. Further, my special thanks to our Dean, Professor A.K. Saxena Saab, Faculty of Commerce and Management, for his continuous encouragement and support in organizing these kind of sessions, and that too in a very short span of time. So thank you so much, sir. And I'm sure under your guidance and collaborative leadership, the department will definitely grow vertically as well as horizontally. I'd like to thank the Education Counselor, Indonesian Embassy, for joining the session and also for letting the students of Indonesia to join the session. Thank you so much. And last but not the least, I'd like to extend my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Amit for organizing this session and also moderating the session wonderfully. And also his team, Ms. Nazia, Mr. Sharik, who coordinated very well for organizing this program successfully. Thank you so much, Doctor. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shahid sir.
Thank you. So,
Thank you.
so now we will come to the end of the session. And thanks to everybody for joining this session. And
I would like to thank Amit ji, the Dean Saab, A.K.
No, no,
Saxena Saab,
it is
and
my,
Shahid Saab,
Mr. Rishabh, it
and
is
my
my
friends.
privilege. It is my privilege to thank you. Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much
sir.
for coming. Keep coming. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
My friends from
Thank you.
Indonesia, thank you so much. Students here. Thank you.
Thank you.